So if we dey use VS Code, luckily for us, we get an integrated terminal or terminal wey dey inside VS Code. Na wetin e mean. E just mean say we fit dey run our Git commands for inside VS Code. So before we do that, make we go into the desktop, that na this side here, make we go into this desktop directory, and then make we create a new file or folder we go dey work with, right? So make I just say we wan go cd, and I want cd into the desktop. So I go just cd, and I go use the tilde slash, then I want go the desktop. So as I did the desktop, you fit see say now we dey inside the desktop directory. Then at this side for here, now here we dey now. To create a new directory or a new folder, we will come say we want to do mkdir. Then I make directory, and the directory we define now learning-git. So make we cd into RAM, then I change directory into this learning git. Ne? So make we cd into RAM and make we press enter. Now, if I do ls for here, you go see say we no get any other file. So make I just open this one here. Make I open this directory. Make I pull this in for us so we go see. And if you say, okay, sorry, this dey fixed. And if you say we don't get any file inside this directory, this learning-git directory, we don't get any file whatsoever inside them. So make I just make this smaller. Open VS Code. So make we just open our VS Code. So I will just say code here. Now, if I say make we code for inside this directory, it will come open it will launch my VS Code for inside this particular directory. So make I drag my VS Code come inside here. Make I drag I go just exit this one or close this one. So I will say exit, and this will help me close that terminal where we get for there. So we're going to use the VS Code integrated terminal or VS Code terminal to work with our files. So now, if I want to open this terminal, make I expand that. If I want to open this terminal, I feel just click here and say I want a new terminal, or I feel just press Control Shift and backtick. It will help me launch my terminal. So now my terminal don't open for here. So you just say it just resemble my same terminal, and we did this working directory where we work with, which now this learning git or learning-git. So make we initialize our project or our git project for here. So to initialize our git, we're going to need to say we want to do git for inside the terminal, not before inside the code. So make I just even make this bigger. As my VS Code don't set for here and my terminal don't open, make we initialize our git file or our git project. So we go say git, that means say we want to do something with git, and then I go just say init. Init just means say we want to initialize our code, or we want to start to use git for here. So the moment I press enter, git go help me set up a file, but the file it go dey hidden inside my machine. Make I show you. So if I minimize here, you go see say we get invisible or this .git file. Now this .git file, if I hide all the files, if I say I go to settings here and I change the show hidden files, you no go see this file for here. You understand? Now this file, now they make sure say this directory, that this learning git directory, they work with git. So we could go back into the VS Code and make we see which other commands we feel they run. So now we say we don't get this file. Yeah, by the way, if you now want to see all the files in your directory, just press ls. Now, if I press ls, you go notice say nothing show. That's because we know the check for the hidden files yet. So to see the hidden files, we just say ls-a. Once you done like this, go show us say, oh, these are all the hidden files inside this directory. Okay, so always remember that. So as this git now don't set up and we get this git for inside our project, we go need to say we want to add our code. Remember that flow I showed now? Say we go need to add our code from our move and go the staging phase of our project or of our git workflow, right? So make we say we want to add code to our project. So make we just say we want to create a new file. So I could just say touch. I want to touch a new file, and I could just call this make I just call this file -1. Then I go just name am, because now text file I want make, I will just call and say txt. So this now text file we make, right? So if I don't touch this file, you go see say now we get this file file 1 for here. Now this file 1, make we just say we want just add some text for here. So I could just say make we just call them hello world. Just simple text where we add for this our file. Now if you notice, my git it already they show me say some changes there. How you go take note? You go just say you want check the status of this our repo where we dey work with, because as we don't do that git init, this directory don't turn to a repo or repository. So we can say one root git status. Now if I do git status, you go see say now git status don dey tell me everything what I need to know about my file. You dey see say here it don't dey track, git don dey help me dey track the file. And again, git go even still give me some helpers here. Make I just make this bigger for una make una see. And git go give me some helpers for here. So this helper, you just say this helper message here, they tell me say, oh, make I do git add, and then I could just add the kind of file where I want to include into this file, and it would help me add this file. So make we add the file. Remember, I say we want to go to staging. So to add the file, you go first say you want to git add, and then you want put the name of the file where you want to put. So the file we want to add now file -1 .txt. So if I do it like this, git go come add this file to the staging area. So if I press enter, you go see say git don't already, then make we check the status again. So I will just press up for my keyboard and status. Once that git status shows us this kind file, say, oh yes, we don't add down to the staging. The next thing we're going to do now, say we want to commit our changes. So how we going to commit our changes? We go just say we want to do git commit. Then we could say we want to add a message to them. So I go say -m. And then once I do them like this, I will need to add a message for inside string. And now this quote, this double quote where they see here. So the message I want to add now, say, make I just say initial setup, right? If I do like this and I press save, git go help me commit the file into this the file where we just add from the staging. Git go come help me commit them. Meaning say the file go come on the staging side, it go go into the local repository of this file. It go come save where for us. So if I press enter, now you physically say git don't help us create a file. It don't give them a own commit number and all those things. So the file is there here, then at this txt file. So now if I say make I run git status, so press up and git status, you physically say everything they work nice for us, and you physically waiting git they tell us say nothing to commit, and I they work on a tree where they clean. Then I say everything what they do for you, it they all right now. So the last thing we're going to do now, say we go like just push them to our team members, right? Now how we want to take push code where we never even add changes to them? That's where GitHub they come in. Now GitHub go they help us they host our code, because all this code we are write for here, it just take inside my local directory. So make we go GitHub website, go set up this environment we will find. So make we go this project. So we go come GitHub, and remember say this now the quick way I try set them up. Now, if we come GitHub, make we just say we want go in, we want create a new repo. So I go click this new for here, and now you see say now we want create a new remote repository. Remember, now to create this new remote repository, we should give them the same name where we give. So I go just say learning-git. Now, if I do it like this, you see say GitHub go help me store the code with my username. Then I just down for this here, and then it will help me / the repository name where we want to create for here. So you see say now we fit choose whether we want a public or a private repo where we want to work with. Ignore the description for now. No need to add all those ones. Now optional as you see for them. So git ignore now file where we say if you don't want make git they work with that particular file, or you don't want make git they push that code, go GitHub. Now that time you can create a .git ignore file. You understand? And then make we just click on this repository. So if I click on GitHub go help me set up a repo. So right now we get this repo. If you check the URL, you go see say now github.com/dj there Danju for Rizu, that's my GitHub username, and then you can see say it can put the name of the repo, which are the /learning-git. So this now the URL for this repository. Any day, anytime, anybody from around the world or my team members, including yourself, you feel come here can see this thing. So what thing you see for here? Well, the first thing where you see for here now say if to say we set up a Git client, then this setup in the desktop. Now that time we go come use that GitHub desktop or GitHub desktop GUI clients, that kind of thing. Now we go do for here. Or we will use the HTTPS or we will use SSH to download the code where we work with. So if you look this code or file where they work with, if you look the HTTP and the SSH, we're not going to work with the SSH now, that one another magana. So make we just work with the HTTPS. The HTTPS now just to show us say we feed download this code, but you see say now we get this the same URL we just show for here, but the only difference is say we get this .git that's kind of file where we work with before. Remember, say when we initialize our Git, we get this .git directory. Then I'm waiting this .git self they stand for here. Now, you get different ways when you don't create the repo from here. If you just create it like this, and then if you just clone now, come to the work with them as a new project. Or if now existing repository, if you just do it like this. Or if you want even just, use the command line to come make some kind of updates to an existing repo, now that time you can confuse this one. Or if you just import the code one by one by clicking this import for here. So make we start the work with even just these ones where we don't work with, because if you check out for this our existing repo, you first say we don't already create a file, or we don't initialize GitHub, and then we don't already add the file. Our own case, no be this readme.md we work with. We work with the txt file where we create, right, the text file. And then if you notice, say we don't commit, and then we don't write our initial setup where we write for here, which now like first commit message we write for here. Now it gets some other things we're going to do, which now these remaining three things. So make we open our VS Code and make we start to the add-on. So if you look here yourself, even for inside our VS Code, you first say the branch we work with now the master branch. But we don't want to work from the master branch. We want to work from the main branch. Remember, say by default, Git already help us set up the master. This is now default setting, but we fit always change this branch to our main branch. So how we go take change the branch? Well, the command they already add them for us here. So if you just copy this code, paste them, but for say make we understand them, we go just run the command. We go type in the command manually. That now git branch -m, that a capital letter M, and then we want use them we want modify them to the main branch. So make we go back into our VS Code, then make we run that command. So we go say git branch, and then we want to run the M flag. So we go run them there, and then we want to modify this branch to the main. So we don't want to use this master branch anymore, but instead we want branch, or we want checkout into the main branch. So if I press enter there, you go see say now we don't switch enter this main branch. We know they're inside the master again. Of course, if you look here inside our VS Code, you go see say it don't even change here to main for us there. And then what will be the next command we need? Now, if you see this command here, you go to say it talk git again. Remember, say all the commands here they run with git. Now, so we take use git. So, but now we want to interact with the remote branch. So how we go take down this remote branch? We want to talk say we define git remote. But inside this remote branch, then this remote repository where we just make, so we want to add the path to that file. And we want to add this file to the main file where we work with. So how we go take down? Well, we could just go back into our VS Code. And then for inside our VS Code, we could just say we want to run git remote add. And then what do we want to add? Well, the first command we go like add, we say we want add the origin. So we could just go back into our VS Code. Well, we want add the origin. So I go say origin, no be origin drink, origin. We want to now add the path to that file where we define. When I say remember the path, well, if you don't remember them, don't worry. Always come here. Once you come here, if you just copy the file, so I will just copy this URL where they here, which now the same URL will be get for here, right? And then I will paste them into my terminal. So I will just Control V to paste that in. So if I press enter here, you go see say now we don't get any message, but everything done they work well for us here. Now you get one more thing we're going to do, and one final thing, and that now to push our code. So already we don't go through the first phase, second phase, the staging area. We don't do the local repository. We don't even set up our remote repository. But the remote repository not gonna know which code you not gonna get any code for here until we push the code. So remember, say I tell you now, say we push code from our local repository into our remote repository. So we're going to run the git push. Okay. So I go say I want to do git push. I'm gonna set the U flag for there. Sorry, small u. And then if I don't set that U flag, what I want to say, I want to set the origin. And where the origin of the branch, we want to set the branch where we want, right? So we'll just say main. Now, if I do them like this go carry this my code, this my file1.txt, and go push up to GitHub. So like I press enter there and leave the computer, make it run the rest. You did say now, Git don't they help me to run this code. Remember, say you need internet if they run them. But Git don't also help me create this branch for main, and then you don't switch them to the main branch by default. So it no more be master as we do when we first create this repo. Now the main branch when we work with, right? So make we go back into the browser, make we see what happen. Already, if we come into the browser, you see say nothing don't change for here. Then because I never refresh the page. So just refresh the page. And once I refresh out, I see say now we get this text1.txt file inside this directory. All right, with our commit message for here says initial setup. So this is now how we they take work with that flow. So what if people don't already update, people don't already make changes for this code and everything, people don't add even more files for this code? How we go take do am? So a very good example go be say I fit even make changes for here, okay? And then when I make the change for here, I go fit add file and all those things. So I fit just create a new file. And this new file, make I just give this file a name. So I could just call out file2.txt. So this file2.txt, it go dey inside this main branch. Remember that? So make I just say hello world from file 2. Now, if I don't like this and I say make I press save for this file, it's supposed update this file. So I don't suppose do it for here, but it no matter really. So I could just add a commit message for here. We go say updated, created file 2. All right. Now, once I press commit here, it go commit these changes to my remote repo. So it is say now for this remote repo, we get file 1 and we get file 2. But if I come inside my Git now, or inside my VS Code, sorry, why not they inside here? Well, that's because the files they inside my remote repository, they inside my local repository. So to check that, make we say we want run git status again. So I'll say git status and press enter. And you still say git status. Even tell me say anything don't happen. Why? That's not because the changes only came on the local or on the remote branch. It never affect the local branch. So how we go take know which changes today inside this our file? Well, very simple. If you look here, because of VS Code, it will show me say I get new updates for the remote repository. But I don't get any new update for the local repository. I don't know if I see this 0 and 1 here. Then I waiting mean. So outgoing, then why the arrow points out. I don't get anything from here where they updated where the remote branch, know or get. But for the remote branch, you get waiting, update. Web say for inside here, I never get that. Okay, so that's why they tell me say make I download them. That's why the arrow they point down for here. So make we come our eye for that section first. So I go say I want git, and then I go say pull. Now, if I run this git pull, it go pull all the file where they. So it is say now the thing don't push it don't pull the file, then this file 2.txt into my local repository and working directory. Now here I get this file for here. Remember, say I create them for the internet, right? So if any of my members or team members they do that, they create more files, I'm going to pull those files, enter into my machine for here. Well, what if say we go like just make other changes, but we know all make people for our team, maybe they do them for another branch. Like maybe they don't know. Say now what may they do. So how we go take do them? Git and that branch we will define. Remember, say we call them branch. We want to just see how much branches we get for this our project. So if you just say git branch, and I want to say, okay, now I want to make you list all the branches where they this our repository. So if I say git branch now and I press enter, you go see say I get only one branch written at this main repository. But if I say I want to list all, including the ones where they online, I could just say, sorry, not -1. I could say I want -a, then I git branch -a, the A flag. So if I press out, you go see say now git don't they tell me waiting there the local branch which na main, and then they also tell me waiting there the remote branch, so the remote origin /main. Okay, if we get more branches for there, it go add. So it go show that branch for here also. So make we create a new branch. How do they create that branch? Well, you can just simply run git branch. Now, if I run this git branch, we're going to need to give this branch a name. Okay, so I could just call this branch my new dash branch. Most of the time, some people they call them develop branch, some people they call them feature branch. It no matter. If you name them anything when you want, that's why I leave it like this. So, and then we go just press enter for here to create this new branch for us. Now, once we press that like this, the branch, it don't create a new branch for us. So if I again do say I want to do git branch all, list all the branches, you go see say now we get this main branch and we get this my new branch. And this my new branch, even though our branch, it is our local repository. And we never even switch or check out to this branch yet. But if you check the remote side or for the GitHub page or the remote repository, go see this my new branch inside there. Why? Because it's a local branch. So how we go take know say, oh, this branch no be wetin we want to now, we want just check am out into another branch. Simple. You go just say you want do git check out. Now that git check out, now where we say we fit dey switch the branch or to dey check out go into another branch. You okay? So we go say to switch this branch from main branch, right? We dey work with main branch. We want switch am into my new branch. So to switch into this my new branch, we'll come say we want do git and we want do checkout. Sorry, check out. So once we run this git checkout, we go need to tell them say, oh, we want checkout into a branch. I believe VScode or Git, they help us, they auto-complete the branch. So just in case you don't know the name of the whole branch, if you just type small part of the branch, so if you just say my, and once I press tab for my keyboard, it will help me auto-complete the remaining name of that branch, okay? So once I do it like this and I press enter, it go switch, the branch will switch from this main branch into the checkout branch. So make I press enter. And you see say now the branch don't switch from the main branch into the my new branch where we get for here. So if I say I want to do git status again, you go see say now we get everything fresh, nothing to disturb our life for here. But remember, say this branch now only for our local branch. So again, if we say we want to check the branch for where we did, you go see say now we did inside the main branch, inside this my new branch, but we know they inside our remote branch. That's why it gets only the main branch for inside our remote branch for here. So okay. Now, as we don't get this branch for here, they our public repository, right? So make we say we want push this our remote repository, we want push this our local repository into our public repository. So how we go take do am? Simple. You go just say now where you dey inside this new branch, you want publish the branch. So I go just say I want git, make I say git push. But the push where we define now say we want push this origin. So we go say git push. I'm going to set the U flag and to set the stream. And then once we don't set that, we'll come say origin, and then we want set the my branch. All right. So this will help us push this branch into GitHub. So if I press enter here, you go see say the branch, you don't push and it don't help us push this new branch, you don't push this my new branch into my new branch. All right, for the remote. So this my new branch for local, you don't push them into the remote branch. So we can run that branch command for all our code again. So if I run git branch -a, you go see say now we get we dey inside our new branch, which are my new branch. And then now we get this branch for our remote branch. And that's why they read for here. So you say we get this my new branch as a new remote branch. Okay. Now, how we want to take say this branch is they up to date and all those kind of things. Well, make we make some changes into this our file. Okay, so the first thing I would like to do say I would like maybe make we say we want to remove this branch, we want to remove this file too for this branch only. So I could just say make I remove or delete, and I want to delete this file. So I want to remove file 2. Okay, I just do 2 for here. And if I don't remove them, you still say we don't delete this file. Now, if I say I want git status here now, so if I say status, so as I don't delete this file 2.txt, it no dey inside this repository again. Okay, but if we say make we go back into our GitHub and we look say all these branches, make I refresh the page, you go see say for inside this branch now, this main branch, we now have this file 1 and file 2, right? You see how? And if I say make I check the branches, you see say we get this my new branch for here. If I come this my new branch, you go see say now we get this file 1 and file 2 where they set everything they all right for here. So we want come out, even though we don't delete the file locally, you see say we still get them for our remote repository. So that means say this file is very safe online. I fit do anything I want. I fit delete them, I fit spoil them, I fit spoil the code, but it could stay safe on the internet. And anytime I want, I fit just revert back into this code. I fit just reset back into this code or this version of the code and this branch of the code, right? So we can go back into our VScode. And for inside this terminal, what we would like to do is say, we want since we don't change this file for here, we go like affect also the remote branch. So of course, as we don't run this git status, they say they tell us say we don't delete the file. We're going to need to add the file, right? So we're going to need to add them to staging, and then we're going to need commit them, and then we're going to push that update. So make we add this file to staging. So I go say git, and what I want to say, I want to do like quick shortcut to add this file. So I go say git commit, because already we go add the file and then we go commit. Not be commit spelling with it. So I go say git commit, and you can see say we want update them. So I go say git commit and a. Let me say I want add all the files, and then I want to see add a commit message, right? So I could just say -m. After I don't write that m, I could just say the message I want. So the message I want, I removed file 2, right? .txt. I can even add the extension .txt there. Once I done like this and I press enter, it will help me add that file, and then it will commit with this message that says removed that file. Okay, remove file 2. So if I press enter for here, you go see say now it don't update that file for me. Now, even though we don't like that, remember say the file it never dey ready. So if you look this arrow here, you go see say now we get update where if we push, or we get update where if we push for here. So now make we try add that file. So of course, say git push, and then we go come put wetin we wan push, right? So if we check inside the repo, because this repository now my local repository, remember say if I refresh the page for this same branch, the code go still dey here like this until I push that update into this remote repository. This update go always dey work with them, so it is very safe for us. Okay, so make we go back into our VScode, and then make we push this code. So if I say git push, it will come push this new update where we get into the remote repository. So we could go back into our GitHub, and if I refresh this page for here, this is say now I get this recent push in less than a minute ago. So if I refresh, even though it dey show like this, if I refresh the page, this number 2, this file 2 supposed disappear. So make I refresh, and this is say file 2, it don't disappear from here. But if you change this branch now, let's say I dey work on this branch and I don't do all these things, but my other teammates, they see they work for the main branch. So if I got the main branch now, you go see say the 2 files, the old file is still there inside here. So then I'm waiting Git, they help me do with my code. So make we say we want to go back into our VS Code. So make we check out back into the main branch. So I could just say Git check out, and then make we say we want to go check out into the main branch. All right. So if I press enter here, we go down check out into the main branch. Now if I say make we check these files for here, you see say we get these files, right? So we get this file 1 and we get this file 2. We get these 2 files. They work for us. They no get wahala at all. So make we close them. But for the other branch, you see say we get only 1 file. Here now quick tip. If now want just quickly switch the branch like back and forth, if you just do git checkout, remove the name of the branch, and then you just do minus here or dash. Once you done like this and you press enter, you go to switch the branch. So you see say now it don't switch back into my new branch. And if I do them again and I press enter, you go see say switch back into the main branch. So that's another tip for now to take the switch between branches back and forth. Okay. And of course, if we list our branches, so if I say git branch, git branch, and we want to list out all the other available branches, the one where they remote, the one where the internet, we want to list them out. So this is say now we get our 2 branches. So how and what we need this thing for? We go like merge the code. Meaning say we go like merge that code where they inside our file, our new branch. We want to merge them into our main branch. So I'm going to do we could just run git, and then we go say merge. And then we go call merge the branch where we want. So which branch we want? Well, we want the branch where it says my new branch. So we want to merge these 2 branches together. We want to merge the code where they with the code update where we don't make for inside that old branch. We want to merge them into this new branch. So make we merge this code. Now we don't get this code. They look exactly the same as the previous code. But if we check the internet now, which are our GitHub, you can see say for this main branch, nothing don't happen for here. We don't get any code. So if I say make I refresh the page, you still get this file 1 and file 2. So all my team members, everybody, they go to see this file 1, they go to see this file 2, right? So we can go back, and what I want to be say, I want to convert this file, I want to delete them. So I could just go cd, and I go change directory back into my desktop directory. Then I want to remove everything where they inside this learning git directory. I want to delete them. I want to come out everything. So I will just say rm. And what I want to do is say I want to remove. So I can say rf. I want to remove by force L the directory. I want to come out this directory, and the directory I define now learning git. Okay. So I want to delete this whole directory. So if I press enter here, it goes to say it, because I work for inside this VS Code, it they give me this kind of issue. It just tell me say the device, it don't command the file, but they tell me say this file you know this. So if I say I want to do cd learning git, because you say now I still get that file. Now because I did work on them with VS Code. So what I'm going to be saying, I want cd out of them. Okay, so make we ls this first. And this is saying, okay, now we don't get anything for inside this file. So what I want to say, I go close my VS Code. Okay. As I don't open my terminal again, I don't come on VS Code. So if I say make we cd into the desktop and make we look for the learning git, so I'll say learning git. Now I want to command this learning git, right? So make I just command them. So I'll say remove by force. So I'll say rf, and I want to remove this learning git directory. And everything we did here, I want to command them. So if I say make me cd into learning git again, you see say you know they exist. All right. So make we be like new person we just come this project. We don't know what everybody don't do for this project. And make we see how GitHub will help us today do that kind of thing. So you go just come this repository, and when you do any of the branches, especially the main branch, you come this repository, you go just click here, this code. When you click code, you go see these two files here. You go see these ways of getting it. Of course, if you get GitHub CLI, it's always better. But right now, we could just use this HTTPS, which they okay for us. If you download the code also, or if you open the GitHub for your desktop, remember, as client. So we could just copy this code. Now, you get what they call cloning. I don't know whether I don't mention them to now. Say we want clone our code. And usually the first step, if you want to collaborate on an existing project, or if you want to work with people for a project we don't deal grant already. So make we go back into our terminal. And for inside here, inside this directory where we work with, remember, say this is not my desktop directory or any of your coding file directory. We could just say we want to run git, and then you want to run clone. So we'll say clone, and then you go paste in the directory or that code where we copied before. Remember, say we click here to copy this code. So we click here to copy this code, which is the same URL where we work with already, and then we go paste them in here. So once I press enter here, it go clone the whole repo for me, and that repo go dey my machine now, my local machine. So if I say make we cd into learning git, now this is not the new learning git file. So that old one way day before, it don't come on my machine. And of course, once it dey here like this, I could just say I want to do VS Code. So I will say code here. And once I run it like this, VS Code go help me arrange and go help me create the project again, just like say nothing don't happen. So even though this is not just very fast and broad explanation on how kits they work, I hope saying this little explanation or this little video will they make for us, so you don't give a basic idea and understanding how version controls they work and how we go work with the terminal. So looking at they used to working with this terminal because it will help you to collaborate with other people much better, much faster. And speaking of which, before we go come even still come up for this side of end this video, I also show now very quick clients. Even though I don't mention VS Code as a client itself, VS Code, since VS Code now Microsoft own VS Code and now Microsoft also own GitHub, the only day normal we say Microsoft even they use VS Code as a client. So make I just show now how now fit still make VS Code as a client. So all those commands where we don't they work with. So okay, if you just they create branches from here. So if you just come here, click here, I go to say you get all the branches where they work with for inside this file here. So if you create branch, if you create branch from another branch, if you even detach branch, if you even delete branch, anything you want to do, you fit do them with this VS Code. So as we don't do here, make we go here, make we make changes. So I go say hello world from file 1. And if I save them, you will see say this line there here. This just to show me say I don't make changes to this file. Then I waiting this thing they be. If I don't commit them already like before, you're not going to see any of these lines. So any line where I add new changes or something, at that time VS Code go they modify or it go to indicate for here, say I don't make changes for here. Now, if you look inside here, inside this source control, you go see say I get these options for here. Now here I go to put my commit messages. So if you just say added new text to file. Okay. Now this now just commit message like we do with the -m and inside quotes. We don't write them like that. So if I say make I click commit, it will help me add the code. Then I add the code to the staging. And once you add that to staging, if you want to add something to staging, you could just click here. You go add them to the staging. This is a stage changes. That means say the changes you don't do inside. You don't do that git add for us just by clicking that button. Then if I click the commit, it will do the same for me. Okay. So once I click commit, it will commit the file into my local repository. Because if I say make we check the code for inside the browser, inside my GitHub, make we go inside this file 1. You go see say this file 1, they show me say hello world. They show me any text out of here until we push the updates into this remote repository. So make we use VScode do am. So I could just say, oh, okay, this change is where we get. I click for here. Once you come here, you will get all the options where you need to do with GitHub, or most likely you will get them for here. So I could just say, okay, now instead of doing that one, I want push my code. So once you click push, it go push this string or this text where we write, say, hello world from file 1, go push them into my GitHub. So you know, say right now, just hello world where we get for here. If I refresh the page, it's supposed to give me hello world from file 1. Also, another way where if you access GitHub from here, and I say if you just press Ctrl Shift P, and this will open go open this menu, and then you go just try any of your Git commands. So if you just try any command, this is the command palette. So any command where they find for VS Code, now waiting go they use they do. Another way of accessing it, we say you could just come here, you could just press Command P, and it will help you define all the files. So if you want to add something, you could just press angle brackets, which are greater than. Once you press them, you go no say VS Code go no say you want to do a command palette something. You want to do something with the command palette. So if I say Git, and now you just say we get all the Git commands where we get available. And for the description of the video, I go give una a what do they call it, cheat sheet, so that if they check out, if you don't forget something, go they do and use, and they do small juro here and there, you know, understand. So I hope say una enjoy this particular series on Git, but for now that's all we need to learn. I will see you now for the next video. Thank you.